Hey there, my fellow language lovers, educators, learners, and curious minds around the world. Welcome back to another episode of the Languages Pedagogy Podcast. I'm your host, and today we're stepping into a world that's vibrant, exciting, and yes, full of playful twists and turns. Gamified learning. But before you start picturing dancing avatars, spinning wheels, and point leaderboards flashing on your screen, stop right there. Because today's episode is titled Gamified Learning Beyond Points and Badges. And I promise you, we're going way deeper than the usual game mechanics. We're going to dissect the real psychological, cognitive, and pedagogical power behind gamification, and more importantly, how it can truly transform language learning. Not just superficially, but fundamentally. You all know, actually, my wonderful listeners, that I already did this episode, but this time it's going deeper. So, as I always say, get yourself comfortable, grab your tea, your coffee, your cha, and let's get started.
Woo! Let's go!
Alright, let's start by addressing the elephant in the classroom. Gamification has been reduced in many cases to a checklist of game-like features. You've seen it. You earn points, you level up, maybe you unlock a badge, but then what? These are extrinsic motivators. They offer quick dopamine hits. Sure, but do they create deep learning? Do they sustain motivation beyond the novelty? The research says not always. Many language apps, like Duolingo being the most obvious, use this surface-level gamification well. But learners plateau, they burn out. They memorize, "You're a penguin," in 5 languages, but can hold a conversation about themselves. Why? Because gamification without pedagogical intention is like sugar without nutrition. Sweet, but empty. But now, let's redefine gamification. True gamified learning is not just about play. It's about purposeful play. It's about designing experiences that make the learner feel agency, progression, challenge, curiosity, and even identity. We need to go beyond the surface, beyond points to purpose, beyond badges to belonging, and beyond rewards to resilience. When we gamify learning, correctly obviously, we're not just adding game features to a lesson. We're using game design thinking to build motivation loops, feedback systems, and narrative frameworks that pull the learner forward, not push them with prizes. So what makes games so addictive? Let's look at what games actually do well and how that maps onto language education. First, immediate feedback. Games tell you instantly if you're right or wrong. In language learning, this means real-time error correction, pronunciation feedback, or conversational AI that nudges you. Second, clear goals. Every level has a mission. Every boss has a weakness. In a gamified classroom, learners should always know what they're trying to achieve and why. Third, progressive difficulty. The game gets harder. The learner gets smarter. Great games scaffold. Great language teaching should too as well. 4. Choice and autonomy. The player chooses their path. Language learners flourish when they feel they have control over what and how they learn. 5th, narrative and identity. You're not just playing, you're the character. Imagine language learners building a character who lives in the target language world. Every lesson, a new chapter in their journey. The neuroscience of play and motivation. Here's where it gets juicy. The brain responds powerfully to challenge, novelty, and accomplishment. What's this? Dopamine. The brain's reward neurotransmitter isn't just released when you win, but also when you anticipate progress. This is the secret of games. They keep you chasing that next achievement. Gamified learning taps into the same loop, but we must ensure the loop is tied to real linguistic outcomes, not just flashy animations. We need cognitive activation, which is learners challenge just enough to stay in flow. Emotional safety. Mistakes are low stakes. Laughter is welcome. Social connection. Multiplayer missions, peer collaboration, team challenges. Case studies that inspire. Let's talk examples. Around the world, educators are blending game mechanics into serious language work. In Spain, a high school English teacher built a full-year RPG game where students had to complete quests, battle grammar monsters, and unlock spells, or phrases, to advance. So smart. In Kenya, an NGO used a board game to teach refugee children English in Swahili vocabulary through storytelling, dice, and improvisation. Learning happened through community and curiosity. In Korea, a language app added surprise challenges, where users had to submit a video using the vocabulary from the last 5 lessons, and peers voted on creativity. This wasn't just gamified. It was gamified with social learning. And here we have the tools that work, obviously when used right. Yes, let's talk tools now, but with a critical eye. Classcraft turns your class into a fantasy adventure, good for teens, especially when linked to real behavior and participation. Kahoot and quizzes, fun but limit. Great for review, not depth. Genially plus escape rooms. Create digital breakouts for listening or vocabulary missions. Minecraft language builds. Students create cities, signs, and stories in the target language. AI-powered RPGs. Imagine combining ChatGPT with a text-based adventure where the learner must solve puzzles using French or Spanish dialogues. But here's the key. Don't let the tool lead the pedagogy. The learning objective must come first. The game serves the goal, not the other way around. And research backs this up. Let me hit you with a few studies here. G, 2007, wrote extensively about video games as powerful learning systems. He argued that games provide situated meaning, not abstract rules, just like good language instruction should. DC and Ryan, 2000, talked about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. If the learner only plays for the badge, they won't stick. But if they play because they love the process, they will thrive. Hang et al., 2018, show that gamified vocabulary apps improve retention by 25 to 40% over traditional flashcards when scaffolded correctly. And a recent Cambridge University report, 2023, note that students in gamified ESL classrooms showed higher resilience, faster error recovery, and more conversational risk taking. Now, building identity through play. Let's get a little bit philosophical for a second. When you play a game, you take on a role. A warrior, a detective, survivor. In gamified learning, the student becomes a linguistic identity. Maybe they're a tourist navigating Tokyo, a chef building a menu in Spanish, a time traveler stuck in ancient Rome needing Latin to escape. Gamification allows learners to try on new versions of themselves, to play with identity. And what is language learning if not the ultimate act of becoming someone new? Real talk. It's not always rainbows. Let's keep it real. Gamified learning has pitfalls. It can be distracting if not grounded in context. It may exclude learners who don't enjoy competition. It can become superficial if overused or underdesigned. That's why intentionality is everything. We must constantly ask, is this making my learners feel more engaged, empowered, and effective in their communication? If the answer is no, it's time to resign. And here are some practical takeaways from this episode. Before we wrap up, let me leave you with 7 ways to gamify with purpose. First, create quests, not tasks. Add backstory and stakes to lessons. Second, use leaderboards sparingly. Avoid humiliation. Focus on personal best. Third, design for flow. Tasks should be challenging but doable. Fourth, let students earn roles. Grammar guardians, vocabulary ninjas, or combo captains. Fifth, build suspense. Don't reveal everything at once. Sixth, reward risk taken. Bonus point for using new expressions. Seventh, celebrate collaboration. Design games where the team wins, not just individuals. Gamification is not a gimmick. It's a gateway to deeper engagement, more resilient learners, and more joyful classrooms. But only when it's done with care, design, and the learner at the center. So let's move past the stickers and stars. Let's create learning adventures. Let's raise our learners not just to play, but to grow through play. Until next time, keep teaching with intention, keep designing with joy, and keep leveling up every single learner you meet. Until next time, keep playing, keep learning, and keep growing.